Well, let's take you back to that developing story of the last 14 hours or so, where the first batch of Nigerians stranded in Sudan has arrived the nation's capital. We understand that a total number of 364 Nigerian nationals were received by the coordinating ministries and agencies. But let's now bring in our guest, a public affairs analyst, Olabode Oseni, to talk about this development. He joins us virtually from London. Good to have you join us.
Thank you very much for having me, Precious. Quite a long time. How's everybody?
A really long time. We're well. We're doing very well. So let's get your assessment, first of all, on how the federal government and the coordinating ministries and agencies have handled the evacuation process of Nigerians who were stranded in Sudan.
Well, let me start by saying the business of evacuation, usually it doesn't come every day, even though it can be argued that people should have made a provision for that. But like I said, it's not an everyday thing. It involved a lot of logistics, especially when it's a situation like a war-torn country like Sudan. So I can imagine that it's not going to be as easy as the ordinary person will love to see it. So there are a couple of other things I believe should have been in place. We don't have our national airlines. We have to rely on the private airlines. That also could make evacuation of our citizens in diaspora or in abroad a little bit more difficult. So, but I must say, well, it's okay. The federal government has tried to do what they can do. Just like we look forward to the incoming administration that they can take this as a lesson and make proper preparation for eventualities like this in the future.
Well, let's talk about the interrelations we have seen between the concerned African countries, not just Sudan now, but Egypt and Nigeria. There had to be a lot of negotiation to allow Egypt open the border. And whilst we were speaking to our correspondent yesterday, she said the other Nigerians who could not board the plane yesterday were not even allowed to stay on the Egypt side of the border. They were told to go back to the Sudan side of the border. I want to get your reaction to that because there are charters binding all of these countries through the African Union.
Hello, I can't hear you anymore.
All right, so I can hear you. I was asking you about how, just to get your reaction to how the things that have played out between Egypt and Nigeria, where there had to be a lot of negotiation to allow Nigerians go through the Egyptian border. And just yesterday, I said that we were speaking to our correspondent, and she was saying that, look, the Nigerians who could not board the plane were asked to go back to the Sudan side of the border, and they were not allowed to stay on the Egypt side of the border. And how, just to get your reaction to that, especially because they are both countries in the African Union.
Yes, if that is the situation, what happened, that would have been very, very unhelpful from a co-African country that we share a lot of things in common. And I not I'm sorry, I need to do what I've been doing before. This is not a kind of a criticism that is not going to be constructive. Because things like this could happen to anybody. Who knows tomorrow if anything happens in Nigeria and the Egyptian nationals need to be evacuated? So we'll be doing the same thing they are doing to us. So I don't understand why Egypt should be doing that. Maybe as time goes on, we will need to find out why are they bringing that kind of uncooperative support or attitude to when we badly need each other.
I think that conversation should then extend to Africa as a whole. When you look at how countries respond to each other's citizens. Thank you so much for talking to us as always. Public Affairs Analyst Olabode Oseni.
For having me.